Your emotion is not against you. It's simply revealing where your attention is stuck right now. This single sentence has the power to change the way you relate to everything you feel. Because contrary to what we've been taught, emotions don't arise to hinder or punish us. They are precise vibrational messages, perfect mirrors of what we are observing, consciously or unconsciously. If you feel anxiety, fear, anger, or sadness, it doesn't mean you're broken, weak, or wrong. It means your attention is fixed on something that's out of harmony with your essence, with your natural flow of well-being. The emotion is just the consequence. The cause lies in your focus. Today, you'll gain a clear and liberating understanding of how every emotion you feel is a compass, pointing directly to the direction of your inner gaze. And more importantly, you'll learn how to use that compass to transform your vibration, your perception, and as a result, your reality. Because when you change what you observe, you change what you feel. And when you change what you feel, you change what you emit, and therefore, what you attract. This video is an invitation to awareness, a call for you to reclaim your power of choice over the one thing you truly can control, where you choose to place your attention, because that is what is shaping your experience right now. Emotion isn't the cause, it's a reflection of the observing focus. Emotions, no matter how intense or confusing they may seem, are not the starting point of your experience. They are the direct reflection of what you are observing. That might sound simple at first, but when you truly understand this, something profound happens. You stop fighting your feelings and begin investigating where they're coming from. The human mind is a lens. It observes, interprets, and gives meaning to everything. But the crucial point is, what is that lens focusing on right now? Because that is exactly what is generating your emotional state. Emotion doesn't appear randomly. It is always a vibrational response to the content of your attention. When you focus on lack in your life, whether financial, emotional, or otherwise, it's natural to feel fear, insecurity, or discouragement. Not because these emotions are hunting you down, but because your attention is pointed towards something vibrating in disconnection from the abundance that already exists in your potential field. Emotion simply reveals the misalignment. Likewise, when you recall something that went wrong in the past or anticipate a pain that hasn't even happened yet, you activate internal images that lower your vibration. You feel anger, guilt, frustration, anxiety, not because these emotions are your truth, but because your consciousness is observing a frequency that's out of alignment with your natural state. And here lies the key. You don't feel what's real, you feel what you perceive as real. The difference between one emotional state and another, between feeling light or heavy, is completely tied to the content of your attention. Not to what's out there, but to what's being activated within. Imagine two people going through the same external situation, say a late payment. One reacts with panic, focusing on the lack, the fear of losing, the bills piling up. The other breathes, observes the moment with trust, focuses on possibilities, remembers they faced greater challenges before. What changes is not the fact itself, it's the lens being used. The first person experiences a dense emotional field. The second, despite the same circumstance, accesses a lighter, more grounded state. And all of this unfolds because of how each one is observing what's happening. You begin to free yourself emotionally when you realize you don't have to wait for reality to change in order to feel something different. All it takes is shifting the point of observation. Emotion recalibrates almost instantly when the mind's focus shifts. This is more than just psychology. This is vibrational physics. It's the natural response of your energy system to what's being activated right now. Every emotion is a mirror of inner observation. You feel what you see, and you see what you focus on. This is one of the most powerful and overlooked truths of human consciousness. Emotion, that living energy that moves through your body, your mind, and your subtle field, is not a random phenomenon. It is the most faithful mirror of what is being observed within you. Imagine your consciousness as a beam of light, and your attention as the lens through which that light passes. Wherever that lens is directed, reality takes shape. That's where the image lights up, and with it, the corresponding vibration is born. What you feel doesn't come from the external world. It comes from how you're looking at it. Ultimately, what you feel is the energetic translation of your internal observation. When you look at a situation through the lens of lack, loss, rejection, or doubt, you naturally trigger emotions that resonate with that frequency. You may not even be aware of it, because often those focal points are subtly activated by memories, beliefs, or automatic thought patterns. But even when unconscious, they are shaping your emotional experience in the now. Emotion functions like a vibrational radar, revealing exactly what your mind is illuminating. And it doesn't matter whether that observation is visual, mental, symbolic, or even unconscious. It still generates an emotional response. That's why you can feel bad just imagining a problem that hasn't even happened, or feel peace simply by recalling a moment of connection. Observation creates the mirror. Emotion reflects. This is the invisible mechanism that governs your vibration. Focus generates vision, vision generates feeling, and feeling feeds the focus. A cycle that can become an ascending spiral when you learn to focus consciously, or a downward vortex when your focus stays on fear, the past, or what limits you. The secret lies in the direction of the lens. Change the focus, and the mirror changes. True freedom begins when you realize you don't have to wait for the emotion to pass in order to feel something different. You just have to change what you're looking at. And that doesn't mean denying reality or fooling yourself with fake positivity. It means using your awareness as an instrument of transmutation. It means choosing, deliberately, what you want to reinforce with your energy: lack or abundance, fear or trust, limitation or possibility. Emotions are not absolute truths. They're simply reflections of the point of view you're currently occupying. And the good news is, that point of view is movable. It's transformable. At any moment, you can reposition your awareness, shift the lens, shift the vibration. You are not stuck to the mirror. You are the one directing it. The mistake of fighting emotion without changing focus. There is a silent mistake that many people make on the path of emotional and spiritual growth: trying to control emotion without changing focus. We try to get rid of sadness without understanding what feeds it. We fight anxiety without realizing where the mind is pointing. We suppress anger without questioning what we're choosing to observe in that moment. And it's exactly in this blind effort to fix the emotion that we lose touch with our true power to transform it. Emotion isn't the problem. It's the symptom. Focus is the root. Trying to eliminate an emotional state without redirecting your attention is like covering up a thermometer to pretend there's no fever. The heat is still there. The cause is still active. And the misalignment, ignored, only deepens. That's why so many people feel locked in a constant battle with their emotions, as if emotion were the enemy to be conquered, when in truth, it's an ally, pointing to where your awareness needs to shine its light. It's not about suppressing, ignoring, or reacting to emotion. It's about understanding what it's signaling. Emotion is the voice of your vibrational system saying, "Look where your focus is." If you try to silence that voice without listening to what it's trying to show you, you miss the chance to realign your energy consciously. And so the emotion becomes repetitive, persistent, even paralyzing, not to punish you, but because the observing cause has not yet been changed. Here's the core truth. You don't need to repress what you feel. You need to redirect what you observe, because your emotion is directly connected to the lens of your mind. It's simply informing you of the content currently being fueled by your attention. And as long as your focus stays stuck on the past, on fear, on lack, or on self-criticism, your emotional field will continue to vibrate at that same frequency, no matter how many breathing techniques or affirmations you repeat. Emotions are intelligent. They are not obstacles on the path of evolution. They are indicators of the exact place your consciousness is asking to be realigned. And that realignment only happens when you have the courage to pause, to feel, to observe, and to ask, what part of me is choosing to look at this right now? Many people try to replace negative emotions with positive thoughts, but do so superficially without changing the base of their focus. That only leads to frustration. They think positively for a few minutes, but the emotion doesn't shift. Why? Because the root observation is still the same. The thought may sound nice, but if the lens is still pointed at fear, the vibration remains stuck. The real shift happens when you realize that the issue isn't in what you feel, but in how you're seeing. And that changing your focus isn't about denying reality, it's about choosing which reality you want to amplify inside you. You can look at the same situation from two completely different places, from fear or from trust, from lack or from abundance, from pain or from learning, and each choice generates a completely different emotion. Technique: how to identify the focus behind each emotion. If every emotion is a direct result of what we're observing, then identifying the focus behind each emotion is the key to regaining control of your vibrational state. And that requires something most of us rarely practice: pause and presence. Because as long as we're reacting automatically to what we feel, we can't see what's actually behind the feeling. But when we pause and look with awareness, the hidden pattern is revealed. The technique is simple but powerful. It's about investigating, with honesty and curiosity, the content of your observation in the very moment the emotion arises. When you feel something uncomfortable, like anxiety, fear, irritation, frustration, jealousy, or insecurity, the first impulse is usually to resist or to distract yourself. But that's exactly when you need to do the opposite. Pause. Pause and observe. Because emotion is a vibrational alarm, showing you where your attention has landed, even if unconsciously. By interrupting the autopilot and sincerely asking yourself, what am I focusing on right now? You begin to access the root of the emotional field. That observation might be pointed outward, to an external situation you're interpreting as a threat, injustice, or rejection, or it might be inward, toward thoughts, memories, judgments, or expectations you're feeding without realizing it. And that identification changes everything. For example, if you constantly feel anxious about money, you might realize that your focus is trapped in negative projections of the future, mental images of lack, or limiting beliefs that associate money with insecurity. Once you see this, you can redirect your lens to gratitude for what you already have, to real opportunities already appearing, or even to the feeling of worthiness you want to cultivate. The emotion shifts because the focus shifts. Likewise, if you feel small in a relationship and you stop to observe, you may realize you're focusing on the other person's opinion, past criticism, or the fear of not being enough. This internal focus, shaped by old patterns, is creating your discomfort. And by recognizing that, you can choose to look at yourself with more compassion, more presence, and a deeper awareness of your value. Again, the emotion transforms. This process is deeply liberating because it gives you back your power of choice. Instead of being a hostage to what you feel, you become the observer of the root of the emotion, and from there, you can act, change the lens, reposition the mind, transmute the vibration. This doesn't mean you'll instantly get rid of the emotion, but you'll begin to dissolve it at the source with truth, with gentleness, and with responsibility. Consistent practice of this technique creates a new habit, the habit of conscious self-observation. You become more intimate with yourself. You learn to read your own internal signals clearly, and over time, you act less on impulse and more by intention. Emotions stop being uncontrollable storms and become decodable messages, helping you grow, realign, and elevate your frequency. Positive emotions arise when focus is on the present or on possibility. There's a silent truth that can completely shift how you live. Elevated emotional states don't happen by chance, and they don't depend on external factors. They are direct consequences of how you're observing reality. More specifically, of where you're placing your attention. Emotions like peace, gratitude, enthusiasm, love, and trust aren't random gifts from the universe. They arise when your consciousness anchors in the present moment or aligns with the energy of possibility. Now is the only true point of power. When you're truly present, not lost in what was or anxious about what might be, something dissolves inside. The weight of control, the effort of anticipating or resisting. And in place of that weight, lightness arises, clarity arises, a stillness that isn't the absence of movement, but rather harmony with the movement of life. In this state of presence, positive emotion appears naturally, not as a forced mental state, but as a reflection of surrender. Being present isn't just turning off the mind. It's observing fully what's happening inside and outside of you, without judgment. When your attention anchors in the now, you interrupt the flow of resistance. And the absence of resistance is what we call well-being. That's why simple moments, when lived with presence, awaken deep feelings of contentment, a sunset, an honest conversation, the silence of your breath, a small gesture of kindness. All of it reminds you of what's already here, not what's missing. On the other hand, when your observation projects toward possibility, toward what can be, what is emerging, what wants to grow, you connect with another source of elevated emotion, creative vision. When you visualize with faith and intention what you want to manifest, you begin to tune into the vibration of what already exists in potential. And it's that alignment that generates enthusiasm, inspiration, and trust. It's not the future scenario itself that moves you, it's your connection to it in the now. This is the beauty of conscious creation. You don't need something to happen in order to feel what you want to feel. You just need to choose the focus that activates that feeling. Gratitude, for example, doesn't depend on perfect circumstances. It arises when you train your mind to notice what's already working, what's already here, what's already enough. Trust doesn't show up once everything is figured out. It settles in when you choose to observe life as a field of support, not of threat. So often we chase elevated emotions by trying to change the external world. But the real shift happens inside. The moment you change your focus, when your mind insists on observing what's missing, what's wrong, what hasn't arrived, your emotion aligns with that lack. But when you consciously choose to observe the present with acceptance, or the future with faith, your emotional field rises, and with it, your creative frequency. Positive emotion, then, is a signal that your focus is aligned with life. Whether through deep presence in what is, or intentional vision of what can be, it's never about the world out there changing. It's about how you're choosing to see it now. Because what you feel, as we've said, is always a reflection of what you observe. How to observe with awareness to reprogram your emotional field. Observing with awareness is an art, a skill that, once developed, transforms not only how you feel, but also the energetic field that sustains your entire reality. Because it is in the quality of your observation that the key to reprogramming your emotional field resides. This isn't just about paying attention. It's about a living, awakened presence that can witness your inner states with clarity and intention. Most people observe the world and themselves in an automatic, reactive way. Thoughts arise, emotions follow, and the person believes they're simply feeling something natural. But it's not natural. It's conditioned. It's the reflection of old patterns, unconscious beliefs, and repetitive mental loops. And as long as your observation remains unconscious, your emotions will continue to reflect those outdated programs. Observing with awareness means stepping out of autopilot. It means noticing, in real time, what's being activated within you. It's about creating space between the stimulus and your response. And in that space, transformation happens. Because there, you have the freedom to choose a new focus, a new lens, a new narrative, and that new choice begins to reprogram your vibration from the inside out. Imagine you're in a moment of anxiety. Your heart is tight, your mind racing, your body on high alert. Instead of distracting yourself or running from the feeling, you choose to pause. You close your eyes, you breathe, you feel, and then you ask yourself, what am I observing right now that's creating this? Maybe an image arises, a thought, a memory, something reveals itself. You realize you've been focused on a loss, a fear, a disappointed expectation. And that awareness alone begins the deprogramming process. From there, you can intentionally move your inner gaze. You can choose to observe the lesson behind the pain. You can bring to mind a memory of strength. You can visualize a possibility. You can breathe deeply and anchor into the now. The goal isn't to pretend everything is fine. It's to redirect your energy consciously. It's not about forcing a positive thought, but about making space for a new vibrational perspective. With time, this process becomes more natural. You start to catch emotional patterns more quickly. You recognize when you're spiraling into fear, guilt, or scarcity, and you interrupt the cycle with a simple shift in observation. Each time you do this, you reprogram your field a little more. Each time you choose a new focus, you reinforce a new frequency, and that frequency begins to become your new baseline. This reprogramming doesn't come from logical thinking. It comes through vibrational practice. It's an inner training built on awareness, intention, and presence. And breath is a powerful ally in this process. It anchors you into the body, into the now, into the space where emotions can be felt without overtaking you. To breathe consciously is like opening a window in the mind. Air flows in, tension flows out, and the light of conscious observation can enter. Observing with awareness isn't about controlling life. It's about opening to life with new eyes. It's realizing that when you change what you see, you change what you feel. And when you change what you feel, you change what you emit. And what you emit is what you attract. Reprogramming your emotional field is, at its core, learning to see with more clarity, more presence, and more truth. You don't need to become a Zen master to do this. You just need to remember, anytime something tightens inside, I have the power to choose what I observe, and that choice changes everything. With that remembrance, you begin to rewrite the story of your vibration. We've reached the end of our journey, and maybe now you can begin to see your emotions in a new light. They were never the problem. They were never against you. They've always been signals, precise messages showing you where your attention is resting right now. The truth is, your emotions don't control you. They guide you. And once you learn to use them as a compass, you realize you can redirect your energy with awareness, shift your inner state, and transform your reality. So here's your challenge. For the next 24 hours, observe every emotion as a clue. Feel it, breathe, ask. Where is my focus right now? Once you identify it, redirect. Gently, honestly, with presence. Because in the end, you don't create your reality just by what you feel, but by where you choose to look.